was that if a book has never been published, it's usually for a good reason. Perhaps it was written towards the end of the author's life, at a time of waning powers, and the publisher rejected it. The British Library did not have a copy of the manuscript. As one of the UK's legal deposit libraries, it is entitled to receive all published books, but Two-Way Murder had never been in print, and, so far as is known, there is only one copy of the typescript. However, thanks to the generous cooperation of James M. Pickard, it became possible for both the British Library and myself to read the book. When I studied Two-Way Murder, it seemed clear that its disappearance from sight was not the result of feeble storytelling at the tail end of the author's career. On the contrary, Lorac seems here to have been making an attempt to break fresh ground. The writing is crisp, despite the fact that editing must have been minimal. The author's name on the cover sheet is Mary LeBourne, evidently a pun on Marylebone, and the police detectives in the story are not the investigators familiar from the Lorac and Carnac series. The setting, on the south coast of England, is also something of a departure from the backgrounds to most of her post-war novels. Was she trying to write a different type of detective story? Might she have had in mind a distinct series featuring Waring, the likeable police officer who solves the puzzle? The answer to both questions may well be yes. So, why was the book never published? We can only speculate, but the first point to make is that the book was written shortly before Lorac died. Internal evidence suggests that the events of the story take place in the January of either 1956 or 1957. She died in 1958 after a short period of ill health brought an end to a previously active life. She left one novel substantially written but incomplete. In the year of her death, no fewer than 3 new books of hers were published. 2 more followed into print in 1959. It seems likely that this book was finished after those novels were sent in. One possibility is that she had not submitted Two-Way Murder to her usual publisher at the time of her death, and that, in effect, it simply fell through the cracks. Or perhaps she wanted to try a different publisher, carving a fresh identity as Mary LeBourne and launching a new series with a fresh background and likeable new detective. One of the manuscripts that James M. Pickard handled a decade or so ago was Lorac's autobiography, which remains unpublished. It is just conceivable that this answers some of the questions about this book, as well as casting further light on her life generally. So far, however, I haven't been able to trace the present whereabouts of the autobiography. Apparently, it has passed through several hands over the years. I hope that one day it too will turn up, enabling us to gain a fuller understanding of an interesting and talented woman. The typescript of Two-Way Murder bears several amendments in Lorac's hand, but there remain a few infelicities that would probably have been picked up during a thorough professional edit. Examples include occasional repetitions of words and phrases. The British Library decided that it would be appropriate to undertake a limited amount of editing in-house, and accordingly the text presented here is the publisher's edited version. What of the story itself? It opens on a dark and misty winter night, with the central characters eagerly looking forward to a ball that is the highlight of the local social calendar. 2 men are making their way to the ball by car. Nicholas Brent, an ex-naval commander who now runs an inn in the neighbourhood, has offered a lift to a barrister called Ian McBain, who comes from out of town but has local family connections. Their conversation turns to Dilys Mayne, a beautiful young woman admired by both of them, and also to the strange disappearance of a local girl, Rosemary Reeve. Nick Brent has arranged to drive Dilys.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.